Oh boy. Now, where the hell do we even begin? Because I'm sure you all probably clicked on this video and instantly several scenes shot into your mind's eye as to what were the goriest, the most horrific, the most psychologically harrowing death scenes in the whole of horror cinema, and every single one of you will have perhaps 5 or 10 different versions as to what the answer to that question is. Truth be told, it's difficult. Horror cinema, as it says on the tin, is chock-a-block with the final moments of some of the most unfortunate fictional characters of the genre. You know, that kind of goes without saying, right? It's horror, but surely some of them must stand above the rest. So, let's take a look and see what we can do. Hello horror fans, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host, Jack Finch. Today, we curiously take a look at the top 5 scariest horror death scenes of all time. Roll the clip. Oh boy, I get the feeling that I'm going to be saying that quite a lot in this episode, but for the curious amongst you, of course that scene was from 2002's Ghost Ship, which surprisingly enough features one of the most insane opening death scenes in horror cinema. Really, that scene is something else, from the distorted smiles to the confused shift in her eyes and then, well, splat. The thing is though, although I've already said this list will vary from person to person, I'm going to try and keep it as holistic as possible. So yeah, the quality of the movie as a whole will factor into this list. And although the opening scene of Ghost Ship is amazing, the rest of that movie is a little bit meh. Let's get into it. Kicking off at number 5, Scream, 1996. And this is exactly what I mean when approaching this list as holistically as possible, because I'm sure that I'm certainly not the person to remind you all, but the opening scene to Wes Craven's 1996 slasher Redefinition is perhaps one of the most iconic and well executed scenes in the whole of 90s horror cinema. And if you're asking me, Scream is the best movie that the 90s ever produced, and it's down to the fact that Wes Craven did so damn much with a single throwaway character in 5 minutes that cements its place in horror history. There is something inexplicably special about the way that Casey Becker takes that prank call whilst her parents are out for the evening. It begins innocuous enough. Oh, I must have dialed the wrong number. I'm sorry. It's okay. It happens. For the sum of its parts, only seconds after that title sequence rolls and the phone rings, we know that we're not dealing with the usual run-of-the-mill slasher that the late 80s and early 90s were tantamount to. We think we should feel comfortable with it, but then instantly we know that we're not. And that's what makes this scene so damn harrowing to watch from a narrative perspective. There she is, Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore. Of course, she's going to be our heroine and final girl for the next 110 minutes. She's Drew Barrymore. Of course she is. Wrong. But that sidestep aside, it's the way that the opening death scene of Scream gruelingly plays out that really hammers it home. Truth be told, it's 2 death scenes. Steve, Casey's boyfriend, tied to a lawn chair and then sacrificed as one small cog in Ghostface's slasher machine. The brutality of that is harrowing enough, poor Steve, but it's the psychological chase down of Casey where the bulk of this horror resides. It's a slow motion car crash hurtling into a sleek black Jeep full of razor sharp knives, and it all kicks off with that one line. Why do you want to know my name? Because I want to know who I'm looking at. And then 4 minutes later, a knife through the chest. We see all of it. It's not quick. She stumbles across the lawn. Start to finish, we're right there with her. And then, to hammer it home, Casey's parents return early. She cries out, nothing. Scream, it's near perfection. Coming in at number 4, The Omen, 1976.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
You know what? Deep down in the pit of my stomach, this scene still makes me feel weird. And yeah, maybe it's the fact that I first saw it as a wee bairn on a Saturday afternoon at my nan's house, but hey, those are the moments that define us as horror fans, right? The thing is, I've played this scene over and over again, time and time again, and I think I'm fairly certain that I understand what makes it so damn harrowing. Other than the fact that the actual narrative context of this scene is absolutely insane in the first place, I think it's down to one particular technical aspect laid out in the nanny scene of The Omen. The sound design in this scene is horrific. It is deliberate. It is executed to near perfection, pardon the pun, and it takes this scene from otherwise being a run-of-the-mill weird throwaway death scene to something else entirely. This is the moment in the film that we know that we're dealing with pure evil, and all we can do is watch it like children at a party. Make sense? Okay, so here's a child, Damien, and we as an audience completely understand that he is indeed the Antichrist, the son of Satan, one that is currently in the halcyon days of being the most evil entity on the planet, and yet no one knows it. And then just before his 5th birthday, during his party, a large hulking hellhound shows up, and then we really know that we're in for something special, because then Damien's nanny, played by the remarkable Holly Palance, she knows it too. Throughout that whole scene, children play on bouncy castles in a beautiful England country estate. The sound design, it's spacious, it's ambient, it's wide, and then as it turns, as the nanny sees the dog, we quickly shift our focus to her face, a close-up of her eyes and a reverse zoom on the two of them, the same, and a jarring, gurgling, synthesized mix, and then silence. Damien, look at me, I'm over here. Look at me, Damien, it's all for you.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
No thanks. And then not only that, but the swinging rope and the long lingering shot on the aftermath and the sound of it. Yeah, that scene is unforgettable. Next up at number 3, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Okay, alright, deep breath. We are not messing around. You see, compared to our previous scene, which certainly is a bleak introduction to the horrors that awaited in the narrative of The Omen, this scene in Tobe Hooper's remarkable 1974 horror tour de force took that sentiment and smashed its head in with a hammer. Sorry, Kirk. Truth be told, this scene makes me feel a little bit ill, as do pretty much all of the entries on this list, but really, the fact that this is just the beginning for the rest of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre really hammers home, sorry again for the pun, the extent that Tobe Hooper would go to make our stomachs crawl. And you know what the worst part of this sequence is? It's not the end for Kirk, not quite yet. Anyway, and his girlfriend Pam has a hook-side view to his untimely demise. Really, this scene cemented Leatherface as one of the most formidable characters in horror cinema, and his modus operandi was like nothing that we'd ever seen before. For me, this whole scene is denoted with the way that Leatherface slams that door. But it's what's behind that door that really harkens to the many narrative devices that truly scare us. Take a look at it again. From Kirk's perspective, that red wall adorned with the mounted skulls of a bunch of poor, unassuming animals is as indicative of his own fate as the rest of the movie. For Kirk, he has no idea that the strange house that he, Pam, Sally, Franklin, and Jerry just drove up to harbors more horrors than they could ever imagine. It has often been said that Leatherface is a force of nature, an unnatural figure, unstoppable, unknowable of the tortuous horrors that lurk beneath the mask, but the fact that he has a den? A workshop, I guess? Yeah, that's something else entirely. Leatherface at the same time is a paradox. He is animalistic just as he is capable of craftsmanship of a certain sort. And that is a truly horrifying combination. Looking back, I think that Kirk's death is the most horrific in the entire Chainsaw franchise. It's simple, it's brutal, it's Leatherface. Coming in at number 2, Bone Tomahawk, 2015.
Damn it, Nick, wake up!
Let's slow things down a little bit, because although it may seem slightly melodramatic to say this scene affected me. In fact, if this was a list of Jack's deepest fears, this would be at number 1 time and time again. Usually I consider myself pretty good at stomaching some of the more gore-inspired scenes in horror cinema. In fact, particularly with movies from the past 2 decades, it takes quite a lot to truly affect me. And I'm not talking torture porn or anything of that ilk, because nah, we're good. In fact, this scene from 2015's Bone Tomahawk pretty much makes every other scene from the so-called torture porn genre pale in comparison. Really, it does. It makes them look like My Little Pony. And if you know, you know. And to be honest, the more I think about it, the more I'm finding it difficult to get it out of my head. And yeah, that's why we won't be playing this scene, because to be honest, I don't want to experience it ever again. And if you want to see it, watch the movie. And if that's not me giving this scene my backing, then I'm not sure what will do it. Alright, let's talk about Bone Tomahawk, because for quite some time I've noticed quite a few of you horror fans calling for it to feature on some of our list, and truth be told, I've kept it off quite a high number for one reason. The man behind this movie, S. Craig Zahler, has pretty vocally stated that Bone Tomahawk is not a horror movie. So I guess that's given me my reservations, but sorry, Craig. This scene is one of the most horrifying scenes I've ever had the joy of witnessing. You see, Bone Tomahawk is a western. It's slow, it's deliberate in its pacing, it builds up to a tension for a reason, and this ultimate conclusion is so far removed from any form of civilization, and I think that's exactly what makes it so utterly bleak, brutal, and more importantly, is devoid of humanity. The reason that this bisection scene is so impactful is that it reduces the human form to nothing but meat and bones, and not in the Hannibal kind of sense either. It is a desecration of the human body in a way that hasn't been captured encountered before in cinema, and for me, it is one of the most utterly hopeless sequences ever captured on film. And finally, coming in at a number 1 spot, Alien, 1979.
Oh, God.
And you might be thinking, yeah, of course. And to be honest, that's the reason why the chestburster scene is taking our number 1 spot here today. In our best regards, we have to pay our tributes to horror cinema in the best way possible, and that includes acknowledging the history behind what makes a death scene so impactful. Whether it's the shower scene in Hitchcock's Psycho or the closing scenes of The Exorcist, the chestburster scene in Ridley Scott's 1979 sci-fi masterpiece Alien is more than just a death scene. It was a watershed moment, and the fact that we, as fans of horror and cinema, can now ask ourselves the question, do you remember the first time you saw the chestburster scene, is reason enough for us to hold it up as one of the scariest and most impactful death scenes of all time. The thing is though, if we thought that we were horrified by a baby xenomorph bursting out of John Hurt's chest cavity, the organic truth behind the matter is far more impactful. The truth is though, no one but Ridley Scott knew how that scene would play out. All that Ridley's script said was, the thing emerges, and everyone surrounding that table, Ripley, Dallas, Lambert, Brett, Ash, Parker, and of course Kane, reacted literally for the first time ever. And we were witnesses to that horrifying response. Now, we could talk at length as to the psychological implications behind the chestburster scene, the fear of male pregnancy, whatever that is, unwitting biological transformation, yada yada yada, but the real artistic beauty behind the chestburster scene is cinematic enough. Kane, after falling unconscious whilst exploring the derelict ship, wakes up back on the Nostromo with a strange alien egg creature attached to his face. We know that something is up, Ridley knows that something is up, but despite that, the crew carry on. And just before they head back to cryosleep, they have one last supper. Everything seems fine, Kane seems fine, pleasant conversation and witty banter ensue, and then... and we know exactly what is coming next. After all, do you remember the first time you saw the chestburster scene? Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 scariest horror death scenes of all time. What do you guys think? Now, I know there will be plenty of personal choices for this list, so let me know just exactly what you picked down in the comment section below. Before we depart from today's video though, let's first take a quick look at some of your more creative comments from over the past few days. First up, Michael Hope says, this channel is endlessly entertaining and punk AF. Punk AF? That's good enough for me. Cheers, bud. And finally, the King in Yellow says, hey man, thanks for the video. I'm always appreciative of recognition. Hold on a minute. You're not meant to be on this plane of existence for at least another century. Come on, dude. Get back in your box and get off YouTube, please. What did I say last time? You know what happened last time. Well, on that note, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Cheers, stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video or just top 5 scary videos in general, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, you take care.